This is the Paying It Forward podcast, episode 1.
I think a lot of young kids today need to kind of be reminded of that and to understand that this technology world is great, but remember, personal connection is better. It will always be better. It will always win. It will always be on top. It will always be the reason why you get the job.
Welcome to the Paying It Forward podcast, and thanks for listening. My name is Steve Richards, and I believe if you want to attain a C-level position in your career, you need to understand what it takes to achieve that level of leadership. When you have access to successful entrepreneurs and senior executives who want to help you develop the skills and traits to become a great leader, it's like having your own mastermind group to mentor and guide you. In a nutshell, that is this podcast. In a moment, we'll sit down with Eric Smith-Gunn. He is the CEO and founder of Enfuego Entertainment. I'll ask Eric to share about his plans when he started out, what roadblocks or obstacles to watch out for, what would he tell his younger self if he had to do it all over again. Is mentoring important? We'll talk about leadership, relationship building. We'll talk about technology. We'll also talk about focus, listening, serving, avoiding distractions, and keeping your eye on the prize. Eric Smith-Gunn is a longtime entertainment professional. He is a writer, director, producer, and since 2009, he's also the founder of the independent film and television production company Enfuego Entertainment, along with his wife, Pam Meisel-Smith. Eric has worked with countless producers and post-production staff on over 100 first-run TV shows. He's personally produced films, plays, web series, talk shows, and music videos. For all of his efforts, Eric's body of work has garnered over a dozen industry award selections, including 9 wins for Best Director, Best Web Series, TV Pilot, Best TV Series or Pilot, Best Show, and several screenwriting awards from the likes of the New York Film Festival, the San Francisco Film Festival, the San Francisco Web Fest, the Miami Web Fest, the Pan-African Film Festival, and several more. Eric lives out the Paying It Forward approach every day, and he is here today to share with us how he can help pay it forward for you. Eric, it is my honor and pleasure to welcome you to the podcast.
I am glad to be here. Thank you for inviting me.
So when you were younger, Eric, what was your dream and desire? What did you want to be when you became Eric?
Well, I wanted to be a baseball player. It was sports or entertainment. That's kind of how it was going to be. When I didn't pan out, I actually tried to pursue acting. So when I started to pursue acting, I used to talk about it a lot, but I never really did it. I didn't really have the courage to really do it, but I was really excited about trying it out. There was an audition that was going on at the time, and I had one headshot. I didn't even have a series of headshots. I said, all right, okay, I'll go. So I went, and they were like, can I help you? And I go, yeah, I'm here for the audition. He paused for a second. Can you be here next Saturday, 6 a.m.? And I was like, yeah, I can be here. That was my start.
So that's how you got started. You landed a commercial first time out.
Yeah, first time out with no acting experience at all. So needless to say, everything after that was a struggle because I didn't know what the hell I was doing. I made $16,000 in 4 months.
Wow.
The commercial
That's awesome.
Yeah, the commercial ran on MTV. It was all over the place. I was the main principal of the commercial. And the rest is history. I got bit by the bug and I never looked back after that.
So that's how you landed in the field.
Yes, that's how I landed.
Now you've been in this field for well over 25, 30 years.
Yeah, about 30 years, easily.
So you have a job in the industry, which is great. Plus, in 2009, you started Enfuego, which has been just a blessing to a lot of people.
Thank you very much.
Did you have any mentors along the way, and if so, how instrumental were these mentors to you?
When you use the word mentor, there are people that I kind of look up to and that I've never met. You know what I mean? That are kind of they give me visual guidance.
So they're quiet role models. They're unknowing role models.
Exactly. Very well put.
Okay.
And so, and then there are those who are on the ground, what I call my ground troops, who I can call at a moment's notice, and who kind of believe in me. And this is going to sound really weird, but my mentors are like my mother was my mentor, but she's been gone since 2005. She was my biggest mentor, and she's still with me right now. So whenever I'm confused or I'm nervous, or if I have to speak in front of a lot of people, I bring her along with me.
It's sort of like you have this quiet beacon that sort of
Right.
centers you.
Right.
Nice.
Right.
Nice.
And I know wherever I'm at, if she's around, I know that she loves me. And then, of course, before I started Enfuego, the courage that I got from my dear wife, it was unbelievable. I mean, she basically just got tired of me talking and saying stuff about doing it. And she just challenged me and said, "Are you going to take this seriously? I mean, is this fun and games, or is this the real deal?"
It's great to have somebody who believes in you like that, someone who's guiding or at least challenging you in a very healthy way.
Yeah. And then, like I said, and some of those people, like I have, like Maya Angelou is one of those people that I rely on, that I really look up to. Gordon Parks, he's another, person that I really look up to. But yeah, most of the people that I look up to are people that I get advice from that I'm not really that close to. You know what I mean? Because I was always told that you can always learn from a fool.
So along this path, you've had centering with your mom,
Mm-hmm.
the sounding board of your wife,
Right.
and it didn't sound like there's a ton of breaks so much in your career. There were obvious defining moments that you clearly recognized. They looked like those were pretty much the two defining moments that got you started.
Yeah. When I was an athlete, I had one of those natural gifts where I didn't have to work hard. Baseball, I never trained. I never really did it. So I was always riding the coattails of my natural gift. I kind of carried that on into when I started getting into writing and entertainment. And it takes you so far. You know what I mean? It only gets you to a certain point, but then you have to start learning the strategy. You have to start learning you have to start putting in the hard work. You have to start studying when nobody's watching. That's kind of what a lot of those challenges were for me. That was the transition. I had to, to me, the roadblocks and the obstacles aren't really like the industry or one person stopping you. My obstacles and roadblocks are myself. They're me. When I get out of the way of myself, I'm fine.
How do you recognize at that moment that you are your own obstacle, and then what do you do to persevere and get out of your own way?
I focus myself on the work. I stay on track. So basically, I don't think about anything else but what I'm doing.
Yeah, so you dig in.
I dig in. And so, but if I can easily, be distracted. I can easily go, in different directions. And that's really hard for a lot of people to focus.
So let's shift gears for a second. Let's talk about leadership, having been the owner of your own company for what, now 12 or almost 13 years.
Yeah.
What do you think is the most important quality for a leader? And then maybe tell me what your most important leadership quality is.
The best leaders are, number one, who listen. I think for me, listening is really important, especially if you're going to delegate. Number two, I think the best thing to do as a leader is to kind of know exactly what you want. I've learned that in projects that I've taken on, when I was unsure or uncertain and I didn't know what I wanted, if I'm challenged with anything, then and I don't really know exactly what I want, then that particular thing can get lost. It can get lost. It can not happen. Or you could be overpowered by someone if you don't really know what you want. So I think it's very important to really listen. In the end, I think those two things are very important when it comes to leadership. I mean, for me, just from my experience, my quality in terms of, I think, I'm always listening. That's my I have to listen. If I'm on the set and I'm working with actors, the most important part about everything is listening to what they want, listening to the problems they're having, listening to their needs, whatever. And always remember too, you're there to serve, no matter what. The best leaders to me are the ones who know that they're there to serve. They're not there to dominate or to discriminate. You're there to serve. Those three things are the ones that I focus on the most if I'm on the set or if I'm doing anything with this company. Those are three major tent poles.
So tell me about your leadership team a little bit. Tell me about those that you've surrounded yourself with to be successful.
Numero uno, for sure, is my partner in crime is my wife. Her and I, we're both very headstrong people. We battle it out a lot over a lot of creative things. But out of that comes, some really good stuff. I feel nothing goes out into the world until she sees it. She's going to rip it apart, but she's also going to build it up and say, and I used to get really offensive when she used to rip my stuff apart, but now I just know that she's doing it for my best interest, and so that's cool. And so she's been the best person to sit in the foxhole with. And then Gregory, like our ace in the hole. I've worked with some really fine people over the years, but Gregory's been a permanent staple. He's diligent, he's on time, he's hungry, he loves film. He has a bright, sunny disposition.
Along the way, who's paid it forward for you? What have others done for you along the way?
There's a lot of people out there who's worked on our projects literally for free and has really put in some hard work. And I am humbled and I am grateful for their time and their presence. You just don't know. There are people out there who just come out of the woodwork, and sometimes you're just blessed when you get people like that. My wife, as I mentioned, my wife, she's amazing. She puts in, she wears many caps. So but what's interesting is that about 7 years ago, I watched this. Speaking of paying it forward, I watched this YouTube TED Talks, and it was this guy, and his name is Adam Lipzig.
Okay.
And he did a TED Talks, and it's called "How to Know Your Life Purpose in 5 Minutes." And he said, I could teach you how to find out your life purpose in 5 minutes, just by answering a few questions. And so he asked these 5 questions. And you have to answer each of these 5 questions to figure out your life purpose. And that basically changed my life. Those 5 questions helped me figure out exactly why I'm doing what I'm doing. It summed everything up just in those 5 questions. And what you do is in those 5 questions, you answer all 5, and then it creates a sentence or a paragraph as to what your life purpose is. So basically, I figured out my life purpose was I create stories to give actors and artists opportunities to better themselves through their own art. That's my life purpose. That is my paying it forward. That is my mantra. I create stories to give actors and artists opportunities to better themselves through their own art.
Yeah, that's exactly where I was going. I was going to say, it sounds like you've been able, over the years, and certainly after the TED Talk, been able to succinctly quantify or consolidate, whatever term comes to mind, who you are and what you provide. Now the execution of that, how do you actually help other, let's call them production assistants or actors and actresses, develop those skills? Is it through literally the written word, or is it the emotional connection in the directing or the producing? How do you help them get those traits to become successful? I'm assuming that makes you an even better leader.
What I do is a lot of times is when we do these projects, we get people who send in their resume and they want to work on our project. And sometimes what I do is when I have a meeting with them, I say, what do you want to do on a film set? And they go, well, I want to be a cinematographer. You really want to be a cinematographer? Okay, cool. How about I hire you to work with our cinematographers? Why don't you be a second camera person? I like to give people opportunities to do the things that they want to do, not what they should do, but what they want to do. And that thrills me. That's what I try to do with people. Try to give them opportunities that they normally would never get, instead of just putting them on the set. Sometimes what happens is, I'll give them an opportunity to do that, and they do it, and they go, I don't really like this. And that's a discovery for them. So, and they may go, hey, I might want to be something else, and that's fine.
That's interesting, because I was going to ask you, what are some of the common reasons that people fail? And it sounds like self-selection as
Right.
well. Like, I really didn't like that. How do you deal with that when they give up? Do you train or teach or help them or coach them?
There's not really much you can do when a person says, I could sit there and tell them, hey, look, man, are you sure you want to do this? Are you sure you want to quit? But when they do come to me and say, when they're excited or they have an interest, then I can work with them. When they have no interest, there's not really much I can really do. And I know it sounds cold, but that's just kind of the way it is. Yeah.
Yeah, that can be the harsh reality of people just making, choices they thought were going to be good and turn out not to be good. If we were talking about the younger generation, or the generation coming up, based on all of your experience and anything that comes to mind, are there any items, things, statements, comments, thoughts, words that you think that if people are trying to advance or create opportunities, is there anything that people should focus on?
This is the one thing that I have an issue with in today's world, and especially with a lot of the young up and coming kids today. Technology is a tool to help you get to somewhere faster, maybe better, maybe more efficient. But I wouldn't lean on it as it being your personal salvation, or something that's going to take you somewhere. I think a lot of young kids today need to kind of be reminded of that, and to understand that this technology world is great, but remember, personal connection is better. It will always be better. It will always win. It will always be on top. It will always be the reason why you get the job, no matter what. It's you can have a great resume, you can be great on the phone, you can have your LinkedIn page could have diamonds coming out, you could be the star, you could have Yale graduate with all the credentials. If you go into the room and they don't feel your connection, or feel you know what the hell you're doing, it doesn't matter. So don't lose sight of connectivity, personal connection, right? That's kind of how I see it.
How important is networking? Like you talk about connection. I'm curious if you, I like everything you just said. I've never gotten a job opportunity of any kind just by looking at my phone. I've always had to reach out and shake somebody's hand,
right.
or at least pre-COVID,
right.
Do that. But how do you feel about networking?
I have to really work at it. What I'm learning now about that networking is that I take myself out and I hide behind the work, and I hide behind the company. So I'm not taking things personally. So like if I'm out there and I'm networking and I'm telling them about Enfuego, I'm not telling them about Eric Smith-Gunn. I'm talking about Enfuego. I'm talking about my work. I'm talking about the script. I'm talking about the story. That has made networking a little easier for me, a little better for me. I still work at it though. It's work. It's work because as I said, with technology, it makes things 100 times more competitive, right? Because now everybody has access. Now everybody can get access to whoever you need to give you that job.
When you're networking, it's usually not all about what you can get, it's about what you can give. So when people are asking you stories about Hijab or Enfuego or anything else, Corey Run, all these things that you've produced, it's all about that, the story, the effort, the energy, the other people all around you. You're just the facilitator of the information being passed from one to another. You're not in it for what's in it for me, right?
Which point, how can I serve, whoever I'm networking with? How can I serve you? How can I help you? Then that's another way of not taking myself out. And, I feel like what you just said, I feel a lot more comfortable talking about it in that context.
If you could send yourself a message or go back and talk to yourself for a little bit, 10, 15, 20 years ago, what would you tell yourself? What would you wish you'd known when you started out, and how do you think what you know today may have changed the course or direction that you'd taken?
I would have said stay focused, stay on path. Don't get distracted. And I allowed myself to be really distracted by a lot of unnecessary things. But those unnecessary things I don't regret any of them. And if I would have just stayed focused, eyes on the prize, I wouldn't have swayed. I mean, this is my bliss.
So that's what you would have told yourself. Is there one piece of advice you might provide the audience, the folks listening in? Would it be the same piece of advice, or would it be something different?
Follow your bliss. Do what you love, and everything will fall into place. I mean, I've learned from my experience that when I'm doing what I love, time just flies. I think kids today, like I said about being distracted, and I think that the internet and social media is kind of a form of a distraction. And I think it kind of plays into that technology thing that I was talking about. Where you allow social media to distract you from your bliss.
Is it hard to hire younger people, the different generation coming up? Is it hard to hire?
No, because there's a lot of people who are willing. The thing is finding someone who is focused. The kids aren't that focused. That I found, because I've interviewed hundreds, for jobs, and some of them are. That's why I say Gregory has stuck with me, because he's focused, and so a lot of kids today are on their phone, social media. They're not focused, and when you do meet a kid or you meet a youngster who is focused, they seem odd. And you're like, well, he's not really weird. He's actually just focused. I think your young audience, I have a film that I did, and it's called Corey Run. And you've seen it, right? The character is impatient. He's driven. He wants to be successful. He wants everything that all these young kids want today in the world. They want a lot of money. They want bling. They want to be famous. They want to they want it all, and, sometimes, if you don't stay on track and you get distracted, all right, by all the glitz and the glamour and all this stuff.
I like that. It brings it all back down to focus. Just stay focused.
Yeah, just stay focused.
Stay on task. Stay focused.
Stay on task. Yeah.
It's interesting. Someone told me recently, in a conversation that there were two types of people. This was a person who was probably twilight of career, maybe a few years left before they retire, and they said, I'm in a young person's field, and it's rather fascinating when I'm interviewing people to bring them on board. I find one of two types of people. One is the person who walks in and says, so how many vacation days do I get? How many sick hours? How many days off? Blah, blah, blah. And the other person walks in and says, where's the broom? I'm happy to start on the floor and sweep and work my way up. And I just thought, wow, that's such a polar opposite. It plays very well into your comment there about, people just got their nose in a book, or they're making decisions a certain way, and they're not necessarily making all the right decisions, or they're not paying attention to the decisions being made around them that actually impact them.
Absolutely.
But I do have one question. Looking ahead, what is down the road that's got you excited?
I have two projects actually I'm working on, but this one project that I'm working on, it's called the Untitled Hands Project. The temp title is called Monos. I really don't want to give too much away, but it revolves around a guy who discovers that he has the power to heal the human body. And I have another project that I'm working on that I'm really excited about called The Protest. It revolves around a young school teacher. She's married to an African-American man. She decides one day that she wants to go to the Black Lives Matter protests, and she ironically gets reservations from her African American husband.
Well, those both sound great, Eric. Thank you very much, and thank you again for the interview today. I appreciate it. If our listeners would like to reach out to you, what is the best way for them to get in touch with you?
Go to our website, which is enfuegofilms.com, and there's a contact page. If you're interested in working in any of our projects, or you have an idea, or you have a script idea, or you have anything that you want to send to me, that's the best place to do it. You can go on our contact page, become a member of our website, become a member of our Enfuego family. Yeah. And you can check out some content while you're at it. I also have a YouTube page that you can go to, which has a ton of fun stuff on there. Yeah. Also, you can reach me at enfuegofilms.com.
Eric, thank you.
No, thank you so much.
He is Eric Smith-Gunn, longtime entertainment professional, writer, director, producer, and the proud owner of Enfuego Entertainment. You can connect with Eric on LinkedIn at linkedin.com/in/enfuegofilms. You can learn more at enfuegofilms.com, or on YouTube, simply search for Enfuego Entertainment. This information and more is in the show notes section of this episode on our website. Simply go to www.lessonsfromthecsuite.com/episode 001. You can follow our podcast for free on Apple Podcasts, Google Play, Spotify, Stitcher, Libsyn, SoundCloud, or your favorite podcast player. If you happen to think this is a 5-star worthy podcast and you leave a written review, I'll be sure to mention your name in an upcoming episode as a small way to say thank you. If you're not yet following this podcast, please go to www.lessonsfromthecsuite.com, sign up or subscribe, it's free, and you'll receive a PDF on various ways you can pay it forward every day. As always, if you have any questions or suggestions for the podcast, any guest suggestions, or any feedback in general, please send us an email at feedback@lessonsfromthecsuite.com, or go to our website and submit a message directly. Thank you for listening. Until next time.